Hi, my name is AZ for Questions Factory, and today we're taking a look at how you can use Blender and Unreal Engine to create this. This video is not a tutorial, but a workflow overview of how Blender has been used to create the game Bonding Ambivalence. Together, we'll see the possibilities and the limits of Blender for this project, and also some of the useful tools you can use in your creation workflow. So let's go and take a look. All levels start with a quick 3D prototype. It's important to start simple by building very simple meshes in Blender. In this case, these meshes can represent rooms, corridors, or major objects, and the idea is to prototype the basic shapes and volumes to drive the sense of scale of the different areas. So to do this, you have to switch from Unreal Engine to Blender very often to get that working. This is where the add-on Blender to Unreal comes in. So this plugin allows you to export objects from Blender to be imported in UE4 in the right format with a good setup. So create your mesh, set it up, import it in Unreal, place the object in the correct location, and test. If the overall shape feels good, it's a green light. If it doesn't, make a change. This step is crucial as it represents the spine of the game, because adding detail to a poor foundation can ruin an entire project. When you're 70% sure about the direction the project is taking, move on to the refinement stages. In this case, refining is adding layers of detail to make the game visually appealing. In Blender, this is first done by adding geometry and materials. Consistency of detail is very important here. You don't want to have a detailed game at the beginning that becomes sloppy towards the end. So the basic idea is to think in layers. Set a single level of detail and apply that throughout the entire project. And you can always add a new layer of detail later if you have energy left. This project was conducted with almost no budget, so we had to find a way to make animations quickly without going to a complex rigging process. Since rigging a human character can be very time-consuming, Character Creator was used to standardize this creation stage. So after modeling the suit in Blender, it's then possible to import that in Character Creator and let the rigging algorithms do the rest. The cool thing about that is that the skeleton is compatible with the default mannequin in Unreal Engine, so if you have one character setup, you can generate a lot more. Another essential Blender plugin for creating UE4 animations is Mr. Mannequin Tools. This was used to make some specific movements using the same skeleton configuration as the UE4 default character. With this workflow, when you have one animation set up in Blender, you have the animation of all your characters in UE4. The Blender plugin, Blender to Unreal Engine, was again used to export animation data to be read in Unreal. Animating a camera is not very convenient in Unreal, especially if you want to add complex movements, imperfections, or make your camera follow along the spline with the target. Well, it is possible to animate this in Blender and export the data in Unreal by enabling the Python Editor Script plugin inside the game engine. By placing the camera as it should be, you will get the exact same movements with all its complexity. The game's cinematics were rendered in Blender using cycles. This renderer uses path tracing to simulate light in a fairly realistic way, which generally gives good results. However, this technique heavily relies on powerful machines, so you still need to use a render farm. In this case, for a 1-minute animation, it could take days to render on a single GPU on a single machine. This cinematic was rendered using 64 samples with indirect lighting clamped to 0.5 to avoid too much noise. You should always carefully measure the computing time of a frame, because in this case, even with 6 cents a frame, 1,800 frames would cost nearly $100 to render. To help reduce render time, some parts have been rendered separately using Eevee, especially the smoke effects and the volumetric lighting. Everything is compiled in After Effects before being integrated into Unreal Engine as a movie file. Blender was also used to create all the achievement images, which is very handy. This workflow can of course be improved, so don't hesitate to bring your ideas in the comments below. And see you in the next video.